How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and attempt this mission, order for logs. It's pretty simple in theory. I've got to go and take 2 lots of logs to a farmhouse on Greenwoods River. I was also giving me a chance to kind of demonstrate a little bit of log scavenging that you can kind of do on this game that it didn't really explain. I did it a bit in the live stream, but obviously a lot of people might not have seen that. I just wanted to make a separate video where it's I can put it in. That's what she said. Yeah, and for this one, I'm taking the P12. I mean, I've said it before, I'm not really too keen on the P12. This is the route. I'm going to try and take the quickest, get my logs from there, go to the gateway, and then once I'm on Greenwoods River, kind of follow the main road really for the most part. Go here through the train tracks, and then yeah, it's basically a little house next to the train tracks. Yeah, like I said, I'm not too keen on the P12, but for the thing is, like, especially these later maps, they kind of not force you, but I mean, yeah, I'd rather just use the best trucks in the game because the weaker trucks are just too weak and too boring for the most part to do these kinds of maps. Someone was saying to me the other day or week though that they tried the P12 doing login and they said they thought it was pretty good. They were pretty happy with it, and yeah, for the sakes of variety and everything, I thought I'd give it a go anyway. I'll be honest, I didn't have the highest of hopes. I mean, one thing with this game, like as far as people's experiences with trucks go, it's all kind of relative. It depends what other trucks you've used and how they performed on a given mission. Like, you could do the same mission twice with the same truck, same setup, same everything. One time it could go amazing and, you know, just that's it, it's flawless. The next time every single thing could go wrong, and you're going to naturally assume that that truck then is not as good as it could be. Use the P12 quite a bit because as far as like, it's a big beastie looking truck. I like the bigger trucks in this game just because, you know, they're like, you don't normally get to see the big monster sized trucks out on the roads and that normally, at least not where I live for the most part. Although actually, funnily enough, by pure chance, was it, yeah, yesterday morning I was saying hello to my granddad and that, and an Oshkosh, well, the Derry Longhorn 4520 drove past my house. I assume that recovery company owns it, but yeah, that was pretty cool to see. I believe I've seen them before, but not up close. That was like slowing down right outside the house, waiting to turn off, and yeah, it looked like an absolute beast. It's even more sad once you can see it in person how much they've just nerfed it and made it pretty crap in this game. But yeah, with the P12, I mean, I've tried to use it, and I have used it a fair old amount. I just, between doing the review videos and various other missions, I just don't really think it's got enough going for it, really. I mean, even now, the nice thing is it's got fairly big tyres on it, so even though we're in like the advanced special sort of set of gearboxes, I've got the advanced special on, that generally makes things pretty slow. But again, because this is like got bigger tyres, it kind of gears it up, so at least it's got a little bit of speed for what it is. But as you can see now, I mean, I've got an empty trailer. There's nothing, just a trailer, that's it. I know we've got a goddamn horse, but like I said, his weight only exists when he needs it to, when he's a weight distribution loaf. Right now, he's some kind of moral support loaf to try and get this P12 to where it needs to go. Yeah, I mean, we were going up a little hill there with, I'd say it was like a muddy track, but I don't know, I wouldn't really say like particularly deep, thick mud or anything. It's a bit like a dirt road like this, and it couldn't even handle getting up there. And the advanced special gearboxes, I like them only because even though they're a bit slow for my liking in like long-term wise, they are actually a very good gearbox. I find the gearboxes in general in this game to be a little bit hit and miss. They feel to me a little bit like the weak link in a lot of the good trucks and a lot of the scouts as well. I'm not too keen on the scout gearboxes for the most part. Yeah, the advanced special, even though they're like relatively slow, they actually work very well and they feed the power of the engine it's got to the wheels pretty well, and they always feel like they've got a lot of torque. And yeah, at least that side of it makes up for it. You got trucks like Bruce is just an absolute power machine, and again, it's not the fastest, but it's definitely got the power. When I was doing the reviews, it walked the 2 lots of concrete slabs up that 3rd quarry hill like it was nothing. I probably could have even winched another trailer behind it and still made it up there. Then you got other trucks like the Collobs, they're absolute beasts as well, and yeah, they've got the sort of special advanced special. And this thing kinda doesn't feel like it gets that torque bonus or anything at all for having that set of gearboxes. The engine feels really underpowered, which is weird because I'm pretty damn certain this shares an engine with the P16. And the P16 feels like an absolute beast. Like, that feels like it has plenty of power, and I've said it before, and I mean, maybe it's just within the mechanics of the game, but it seems a little bit excessive. I mean, like, even getting over the railway, it couldn't do it without smashing its fuel tank. Now I clip the tyres. Yeah, the P16 is obviously not all-wheel drive, so it's only feeding 2 lots of rear axles, so it's 4 tyres it's feeding. This is all-wheel drive, so it's feeding 3 axles. So it's kind of had to split its power, and I get that, and I can kind of see why maybe that makes a little bit of difference, because, yeah, there's less power going to each axle and each wheel, but it feels sort of way beyond that. It feels like it's half the power, or probably more. And yeah, that's just one of the issues where it's kind of like, I feel they've done this truck a bit of an injustice as well. Like I said, with the Derry 4520 being the renowned one, that's just a terrible truck, I think, in this game, and it shouldn't be. And with this thing, I'm not expecting it to be the absolute best truck in the game or anything like that, but I just don't see why, after all this time, they haven't given it a little something, like up it in power a little bit, or do something, like give it special tyres that have got better grip. I know the P16's got unique tyres. I'll be honest, I can't remember off the top of my head if this has or not. I've gone for the chained with them. I just personally, I like the chained. I have this kind of conversation with Pete. It doesn't bother me, by the way. By all means, ask whatever you like. But yeah, like, a lot of people ask me why I use the chained over the muds. Doing the container delivery contest in Drowned Lands, I basically used the Taiga, did the muds and the chained, and the chained just kept winning consistently, and I got my best time ever with the chained. And I did about 250 to 300 runs. Well, probably over 300 runs. Around 250 I actually made it to the end and got paid out for it. Yeah, and the chain were just better. Like, it's not... The chain don't mean anything to me. I'm not sentimentally attached to them. If the muds were better and I thought they were, I'd use them. I'm sure in certain areas the muds are probably slightly better, but it's just... There's nowhere I can't go with the chained, and I never have to worry about keep changing them. They work on the snowy maps, the slippery maps. They work on the muddy maps. They seem to dig through and bite into the terrain better. It stopped me stalling in high range as much. Just all sorts. Yeah, and I mean, the problems kind of get a little bit more, though, with the P12. Other than the distinct lack of power, the truck sits fairly narrow, which may be not the end of the world, but if you could get like a bit of a wider rear axle set on the go, because obviously that can make tipping a bit of an issue. Even the logging trailer I've got now sits wider than this, so they can definitely increase the width a little bit without it being too crazy. You can see, by the way, I brought a goddamn horse vehicle with me. I mean, that's one other problem I can say. For the size of the P12, it struggles to even bring a horse with it. Like, I could put the horse on the roof, but it didn't quite fit properly and it wouldn't let me pack it. I can put it sideways over the bonnet and it sits across that very nicely, but again, it won't let me pack it, so it could fall off pretty easily. In the end, I decided to wedge it in here behind the logging crane, and thankfully it does, yeah, fits like a glove between the long logs and kind of that crane. I needed a crane for this mission because, like I said, I've gone and got one set of logs from here, so the other way I'd normally do this mission is bring a road train, bring something else, but the P12 is already gutless enough that I really wouldn't want to be towing a road train with it, and to be honest, it's such a heavy, gutless thing itself, I wouldn't really want to use anything to tow this thing behind me. I'd just bring different trucks if I was going to do a road train. But yeah, there's on Greenwoods River, there's certain little, like, just like little, I don't know, log stations, but they're not listed as log stations. They're just a little pile of logs that have logs sat around the map that you can basically scavenge them, top your trailer back up, and yeah, get a mission done a bit earlier. So that's why I brought the crane, and again, it was one of the few times I thought I could actually bring this P12. Like I said, someone was saying it's give it a go with the login, so yeah, I thought I would. This mission just made sense that I don't have to do any road train situations. I can just yeah, poach a few logs and we're good. And as you can see here, I mean, I've drove through this point many times in the past, road trains as well, and it was such an uneventful section that, I don't know, I never even really spoke about it in previous videos. We just motored through here and that was the end of it. This thing literally can't even get itself through that puddle, and all the way through the puddle it was still feeling a little bit like, oh god, any second it feels like it is just going to say, nope, I'm done. And right now I can't really see why it's stuck. I mean, it's got the ground clearance. It's the engine power. You look at the wheels, look at the front wheels jiggling. They're not liking it. I only got moving then because I just stuck a winch from the rear of the trailer to one of those trees, which kind of helped a bit. But yeah, I mean, look at all the wheels jiggling. It's yeah, one of the worst trucks, to be honest, for doing that. Actually, almost pains me to say it, but I even think the Derry might have put on a better show than this thing is. And yeah, partly what I was mentioning about the narrowness is when you get to this point, I tried to winch to that tree. This thing is so narrow and sits relatively tall for what it is. Like, it's immediately wanting to try and tip instead of pulling me forward. And yeah, I mean, I've been trying to think pretty hard of a redeeming feature to this truck, but I don't know, it's a bit of a difficult one. I mean, it's got a decent sized fuel tank. Is it 350 litres? But the thing is, if it's so slow and it gets stuck in so many places like this, as I've said before with the fuel, you can't just go on like how many litres it's got. It's, I don't know, what use of those litres does it make? Like, again, the Dolphin has got a very small fuel tank, but it's very good at going through pretty much every terrain, and it's got a nice high top speed, so it makes good use of that fuel, and it can cover a large distance with 200 litres of fuel. This thing might have, yeah, nearly twice the amount of fuel, but I honestly think it'd take twice as long, if not even longer, so I actually think I could get more done with the Dolphin, and quicker. Yeah, I mean, look at it, we're pretty much out of that swampy little area. I think it was just the tyres of the logging trailer that was still sort of down that hill a little bit, and it couldn't even pull that out of it. And again, you can see why there's no chance in hell I was going to be bringing a road train in this situation, especially not with the mechanics of the game being a bit iffy at the minute, where it keeps like turning the engine off of the road train behind you and all sorts. So thankfully we're finally through that bit. I mean, well, I kind of had to go that way to get the logs anyway, but yeah, I wouldn't fancy taking this thing through the crazy muddy sections that I've just kind of cut out by going that way. Apologies, there's a little glitch there. I was nearly going to miss the fuel station because I thought, nah, it's all good, I've got my loaf, that'll have enough fuel. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I'm in the P12 and it could get stuck on a banana skin somewhere, so I best take as much fuel as I can, because, yeah, this thing is more than happy to just get stuck on, I don't know, a snail shell and then burn 100 litres of fuel trying to get over it. I was actually quite amazed. I mean, learning from experience of this hill, I stuck it into high range while I was all the way at the bottom, and I still thought it was going to die in high range. This was about one of the only things where I was like, oh wow, that actually, credit where it's due, it actually did muscle its way up to the top of that hill without dropping out of high. But again, I think I gave it like the best shot it's going to get, because as I was going down the hill on the other side, I kind of stuck it in the high and already got it up into its like sweet spot rev range and let it go. And then yeah, getting here to the gateway to Greenwoods, I realised at this point, obviously the loaf isn't packed. So yeah, it's going to do this. It made me turn into a ghost. The loaf is floating and I've gone into a ghost as well. And at this point, I could have just drove off. While I was here though, I wanted to show you something. Somebody mentioned the other day about you can't pick a loaf up with the logging crane. And I said I'll put it in the next day's video. While I was freeing up space on my PS4, I must have deleted the footage, so while I was here now, I just thought, sod it, I'll show you quickly. This is how you can pick a loaf up with a logging crane. So what I first tried to do was kind of with the pincer arms, slot one of the pincer arms like in the wheel arch, if that makes sense, try and drop it over the wheel. But there's not much of a gap there, so it doesn't really let you... It sort of does that, where it grabs the wheel to one side. You can get a bit of lift on it, but nothing special. So, what you want to do is rotate your arcade grabber claw things that way and put it sideways on the wheel, and if you get it tucked in nice and close to like the chassis of the loaf to where you're pretty much even on the wheel, it'll stay nice and smooth like that, wrap around each side, and then yeah, there you go. We are lifting a goddamn horse of a vehicle, you see. He's only got weight when he needs weight. Every other time he's a magical loaf. It did slip out then, that's what she said, but yeah, I have lifted it and packed it and all that sort of stuff before, but like I said, this is just me quickly messing around before I was about to set off on my journey. Oh, also, obviously my loaf was kind of over the chassis. I'm only showing you this just it might help you one day if you're doing your own things. To get the rear end of the loaf lifted up, I kind of put the crane on the floor, opened the grabber arms, lifted it back up. That lifted the back end of the loaf up. And then I could stick a winch from the loaf to the trees behind me and hoover his way back onto the chassis. Which again, I mean, I'm going to be doing it with a goddamn horse of a vehicle because he's my boy. But yeah, you might find that just some situation where that might help you in the future, that you can actually kind of wedge the crane under a vehicle and lift it up a little bit. So yeah, we got the loaf back on. We came this far, couldn't leave him now. Well, again, actually, I mean, well, stay tuned. There's a reason you don't leave a goddamn horse or a vehicle behind, because he usually pays for himself and then some. I'm just going to cut this bit out. It was jiggling around a little bit, and yeah, I was just adjusting a few things with the winch. I mean, again, this is like the difference between the, say, videos and live streams. When I'm making a video, I can mess around a lot more, because I can just edit out everything that I think, wow, I won't waste your time with that. But yeah, a live stream's kind of got no choice. Yesterday, by the way, most of the reason I didn't do a video, I was actually just doing a lot of messing around, trying all sorts of different things on the game. And in the end, there's nothing that was really much of a cohesive video where it's like I could actually show you something of any value. I was spending a lot of time. I got a couple of heavy wreckers. I was trying to get the train. Again, anyone who's seen the last live stream, I sort of managed to load a train onto the rollback of the heavy wrecker, only like half the train, because obviously it's pretty massive. But then it tipped off pretty quickly, so I was trying to just do that again. Somebody said an idea of like get a heavy wrecker either side of it, and sort of then winch both heavy wreckers together, and I might be able to do it that way. I was kind of messing around doing all that sort of stuff. I didn't get very far with it. I was trying to do it like once you restart the train mission, I was trying to do it there. I need to tow the train, like get it off the tracks really, get it onto the mud, and I think I'd get it to slide onto the rollback a bit easier. But yeah, just between everything I was messing around yesterday, it was just one of those days where I needed to test a load of things out. I also got something else that I was pretty happy with, achieved. I won't leave it in this video, I might put it in another video. This video just ended up being a bit longer than I was hoping for, considering the mission is relatively simple. The P12 certainly managed to milk it for as much as it's worth. I reckon if I did this mission with the, say, the dolphin and loaf, I don't know, say 15 minutes maybe I could have got this mission done. 15 to 20 max. And there is a little bit of extra time added in it, you'll see in a minute. But I very wisely decided to abort mission on the little extra step I'd added for myself. And again, I mean, this is the only time the P12 kind of ticks along pretty nicely. Is on the roads. And then even then it still feels a little bit like, meh, just a bit lackluster. There's nothing, I mean, I always think with vehicles in this game, like, if they can offer something that they're pretty bloody good at doing that, even if they've got other points where they suffer elsewhere or whatever, that's what I kind of like to look for. And when you got something, I mean, that boar, as I did the review on that recently, it can do things, but it's like, it doesn't do anything amazingly, and it's kind of like, you get to the point, why would I logically take that over something else? And it's the same with this P12. I think things would be going a lot easier now if I had the P16. The only reason I didn't bring the P16, and couldn't really for this situation, is I couldn't fit the like the long log cradle thing and the log crane as well. There was quite a few trucks as I flicked through. I mean, that's what I'm saying with this game. Between like the limitations they had with a lot of things, yeah, you're limited to like a handful of trucks really. Even though there's 40, 50 odd trucks in the game, it's like, if you want any kind of combo setups where you can have, say, the crane and the log carrier, there's, yeah, you've now narrowed down like 3/4 of the pack instantly. And as I said, when some of them that are left are trucks like this that you just really wouldn't take out of choice, it's you're sort of left with just the same handful of trucks, which I don't mind. I like using, yeah, the Dolphin, the Tiger. I definitely do. I do like the P16. P16's not the most versatile and all the rest of it. I just like it. It's just a big old beast. That's another thing though. The P16 horn is so good. It's therapeutic. This horn, I don't know, it's just terrible. If you'll see a minute ago, the loaf ran out of fuel. It actually, I think my loaf died of old age waiting for this P12 to actually get to where it's going. And amazingly, through that last water area I went through, this actually went through there. I was quite amazed with that. But again, I know that's like, it sounds like that's a good thing, but I mean, look at it, it can barely crawl out of that little bit. It's like, when this truck does something that near enough every other truck in the game can do, and you practically have to give this like a participation medal and a round of applause, I don't know, yeah, it's like a little kid, it's like a little 3-year-old where you have to stick its picture on the fridge. But, you know, it ain't going to be replacing like the Mona Lisa or anything anytime soon. So we finally got here, what are we, 20 minutes. 20 minutes to drive from Black... I always forget the name, Black Badger Lake. It's because of Black River and Black Badger Lake, they always get me. Anyway, yeah, there's one set of logs. And you can see in the background, there is actually one of those little things with spare logs, but follow the line. It's very hard to tell, but there is one just there that also has logs, which I originally thought, yeah, okay, we'll try not to make it too easy for ourselves. You'll see in a second, as I drive past those 3 logs that are sat there, you'll see them jump out. Obviously some glitch. Those ones there that all just jumped out. That isn't a log station, it's not marked on the map. And that is another one like that I'm heading to now. Again, apologies, there's a little glitch there. But look at it, this is just practically a grassy road. It's just got some little like grooves in it where various other trucks have drove down here in the past. And this thing is absolutely just barely scraping through by the skin of its teeth. And it's got an empty trailer. And yeah, fair enough, I've got a loaf on it, but I've had loafs on everything. So, I mean, long story short, I've had loafs on loafs that have handled it better than this. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, I put a kebab on a loaf and it managed to drive more smoothly than this. And given that the kebab is like 50 times the size of the loaf, yeah, I got this far, I was like, oh hell no, I'm not doing it, mission abort. I'm just going back to those 3 logs I just drove past, and of course the long logging trailer has to do it to me. But you see, this is why you get yourself a loaf. Engine stalled. Like I told you before, if it don't start, you just ain't turning the key hard enough. Just had to give that key some welly. Fired up like a good un. I could have just got the loaf out and then rescued it separately, but I wanted to do it like in one, so I winched from the middle point of the loaf, because then I knew it'd kind of hook on the chassis. Winched to a tree behind me. I mean, look at his little hooves are hooked onto that P12 chassis, tipping it, and job's a good un. And you see, whereas otherwise, what would I'd have had to have gone to the garage and brought something to rescue it, or disconnected the trailer, recovered the P12 and then drove back. The loaf just made it all good again in what, 10-15 seconds? And yeah, I mean, I've said it before, I'll probably say it again, that's why you get yourself a loaf. It just saves the day, makes things easier. Makes, for me personally anyway, when I'm making videos, he makes making videos a lot easier and a lot more fun. I'm always having a good old time when I'm in my loaf. I'll almost be sad when I have to play another game eventually. I mean, that's probably another reason I'm going to have to get a PC. I'm going to have to learn to get good at modding. I'll just have to try and mod a loaf into everything. Even if it's like a Tomb Raider game. Tomb Raider and the loaf. Sounds like a good game, I'd buy it. Yeah, again, I mean, once we finally turn around, this thing can barely crawl down this road, but again, practically every other truck in the game wouldn't even realise is like anything other than just a normal road. So yeah, I decided, sod it. I'm grabbing these logs. And yeah, now we get to use the arcade crane, which I'm convinced is based off an actual arcade machine. i.e., it's set to where it's too weak to grab anything and drop a prize, except for like every 100 goes. Because we grab a log. I could feel it, I could smell it in the air. Like, yeah, you're about to drop that log. Of course it does. I mean, again, why can't they just, if they're going to add a crane into this game, just make it work? I appreciate there's real life limitations to some things. That is the unfortunate situation of real life. But when you have a game, it's like, if it's supposed to be a logging crane, just make it a logging crane. It doesn't have to be a slightly crap logging crane. And it's like the fact that when you rotate the crane, it gets locked in place, like you can only rotate it 360 degrees or whatever. Again, I don't need that level of annoying like immersion, killing, boring realism. I just need a crane to be a crane. Is it so much to ask? Getting a little bit better. I mean, don't get me wrong, I certainly do not claim to be good at this crane. Because I'm so impatient with it, I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to this kind of thing. But that first one went kind of well. I mean, again, in fact, the normal cranes do it in this game, where they have like a dotted line kind of going down from the centre of the crane, so you can see precisely like what you're going to grab. Yeah, it'd be handy if they did it with this for the logging. The nice thing as well, I can near enough butt the logs up against the loaf, and it pretty much guarantees that when I drop them in the trailer, they'll have that little green light on them. I just edited a bit there, by the way, because I couldn't quite reach that log. So rather than watch me stubbornly reverse like 4 inches, still not quite reach it. Reverse another 4 inches, still not quite reach it. I just, yeah, edited it out. So I'm going to play the stupid logs at their own game. Because it's going to be weighted and go all crazy, I'll just put that side in first. I mean, again, yeah, that's what I don't like about these log cranes. The, like, grabby head of it is just too floppy and weak. I want to be throwing that wood around like a seasoned prostitute. Yeah, we got him in there, though. Just for no reason in particular, kind of grabbed my own head. And, yeah, of course it's going to say your logs are not in the right place. Again, at least it's not as bloody moany as MudRunner. MudRunner was meme levels of, well, you need to move another millimetre to the left if you would like me to pack these logs. But yeah, we finally got them in. I mean, it's a good bloody job it offers you them like 4 yards away from where you got to drop them off. Hoover me loaf back on to make sure. I originally wanted to drop the hammer and knock that tree out of the way. And then when I realised I'm in the P12 and I can barely make it up that little tiny hill. We've soon abandoned that mission. I mean, look at it, the loaf just can't wait to get out of there. He's like, just let me go, P12. Got dolphins to play with. Overall, 17 odd grand for the missions. Pretty good considering you can rob half the logs from there. This thing made it a bit of a meal, so it balances out really. But yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my Patreon members, and I'll be back soon.